The following is a hockey podcast out of Vancouver and Surrey, British Columbia. It'll only consist of a lot of puck talk and even more BS, or in actual words, banter and satire. Enjoy, and as always, go Canucks go.
Oh, Big Zaddy, please come home.
No. You gotta hang out with your wife again, man, for real. You working way too much.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Locked On Canucks, baby. My name is Trevor Beggs, co-host of Locked On Canucks and also a Canucks writer with Daily Hive Vancouver. Before we dive into the episode, we got to thank you for tuning into Locked On Canucks because it is your Canucks every damn day. We're part of that Locked On Podcast Network. They're doing the most for sports fans across the world and for our show. If you haven't done so already, make sure you go subscribe and like this video on YouTube and on the podcast side. Oh, baby, go follow us and leave a good old 5-star review because we're not here without you, but we're also not here without the sponsors. And today's episode is brought to you by that big Zaddy energy. It's also brought to you by FanDuel, okay? New customers can place a $5 bet and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Elliotte Friedman, man, he knows how to stir up the market. And we talked about it here on the show, more tongue-in-cheek, more about the jokes in terms of trading Jake DeBrusk back to Boston for Nikita Zadorov. Maybe Elliotte Friedman's been tuning in because today on his 32 Thoughts column, he suggested that perhaps the Boston Bruins and the Vancouver Canucks could reunite Nikita Zadorov with the Vancouver Canucks. Let's talk about the logistics there and the odds of it actually happening and why, of course, it is very, 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 very unlikely to happen. But hey, never say never here in this crazy world known as being a fan of the Vancouver Canucks. Let's also get into the Thatcher Demko comments from yesterday and talk about the soul of the Vancouver Canucks and why Thatcher Demko is the real MVP. Also got some news and notes, including some on some young guns as well. But before we get into that, let me introduce my co-host. He got the Bo Horvat tattoo removed, never got the Nikita Zadorov tattoo, thankfully. Kyle Baum, how's it going, brother?
The big Z, right above the big D. One of those tramp stamps, you know? I'm joking. Okay, I'm just dreaming. Anyways, Kyle Baum, Trevor Beggs, Locked On Canucks. And yesterday we gave Gary Bettman all the credit to save us, right? To rescue us from cap hell. And apparently we're not actually scared of cap hell because we're like, yo, you know what? Let's bring back Zadorov. Because Elliotte Friedman is alluding to the fact that he would think that there would be some interest maybe, or the Canucks are just circling back. Maybe they can get Boston to retain some money and get Zadorov for the cheap, like they wanted to back in late June. Who knows? All in all, though, the Canucks need a lot of help. But as Elston Gunn is reporting, okay, he's saying Bruins fans, and thanks for the comments, people. He's saying that Bruins fans have been giving Big Z and Lindholm a hard time. You sure you want them back? So, Trevor Beggs, maybe we don't have to be so specific on the whole Nikita Zadorov thing, but the Canucks have to be so careful in giving up more assets for another defenseman if it's somewhat of a project, somewhat of a 50-50 thing working out. Because I think Zadorov is still 50-50. Yeah, he looks good in blue and green and did his thing and looked good under Adam Foote and played really big in the playoffs, but specific to this moment, the Canucks, they need more of a sure thing. If, again, they're giving out capital and getting someone back this season, in my opinion, to fix their defensive issues. It's got to be a sure thing. Not a player that when he has momentum on his backside or in his backside, I mean, in his heart, okay, is able to get the job done. I'm talking about a guy that for 99% of it, the time he's on the ice, he just gets the job done. One of those guys. And I'm not sure if Zadorov is, again, that guy.
Here's the thing about Nikita Zadorov in Vancouver. The dude could have stayed here, and he chose to chase the money. He chose to chase the dollars and go to another market to get that extra year on the deal. Got a couple schmil more added to his paycheck. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to fault the guys for chasing the money, but when you chase the money, it doesn't mean you're always ending up in the best situation. And, you know, with the Boston Bruins, Kyle, I think we talked about it kind of off air, but I'm writing them off more than you are. I just think this is a team that reminds me of the Canucks a couple of years ago when the stars aren't on the ice. it's definitely a bit of a dog's breakfast. And, they've been bailed out by elite goaltending, which has kind of eluded them this season. The defense is looking kind of mediocre. And yeah, Big Z and Elias Lindholm taking a lot of heat in that market in Boston. But when I think about his Zadorov reunion in Vancouver, I just think the guy could have been here, right? And he chased that extra year in Boston. And then he goes on that What Chaos podcast and talks about how the Vancouver Canucks disrespected him, man. Are you kidding me? This guy, again, has been a bottom pairing defenseman throughout most of his NHL career, had a great run in Vancouver. And, to me, he kind of reminds me of a couple of girls from high school where, they're smoking hot. They're out of your league, but you go on a couple of dates with them, and then just they ain't as good personality wise, to put it that way, right? So all looks, no substance, and that's kind of reminds me of Nikita Zadorov with the Vancouver Canucks.
Whoa, you're a dark.
They wow you for a little bit, but long term they ain't the one.
Wow, you're dark, man. Because this guy did do his thing though for us. Like he was that guy. He was, mainly our second best defenseman, a top 5 player for the Vancouver Canucks in the playoffs when the games mattered. Like provided so much substance, so much memory. He was able to become a fan favorite. In fact, a lot of people sad, right? Look at this guy, Amir Yukta. I said that right, okay? Big Z isn't coming back as much as I'd love to see that. Like people love Nikita Zadorov, and right now I think you're being too mean comparing him to a girl that is all flash, not consistent. And I'm like, come on. I think there's a small chance, not a big one, and that's mainly why I wouldn't do that. That he could, find his footing, ironically, under Adam Foote again, straight up. But again, the thing that just scares me is, just the floor with the term and the money. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. I think the Canucks standards are a bit higher. Real talk, especially giving out more capital. Like people got to remember, right? It's all fun and games, but the Canucks, I always like to bring it back all the way to the Hronek part of the equation when they started giving up a lot of draft picks. But even in the last 12 months, they've given up what? It's 4 to 5 draft picks, including Brussels sprouts, Brushevitz, who they gave up in a trade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If we are giving up pieces, we have to get somebody that's good on his own. That doesn't need the guidance, that doesn't need the support, doesn't need the home crowd by his side, doesn't need the playoff games to get, his juices flowing. Like, I need more security back there. You get what I'm saying?
Well, I get what you're saying, and I guess to go back to my crappy high school girl metaphor, look, it's like again, you go on a couple good dates, but after that, it ain't the thing, right? And I feel like that's Zadorov in Vancouver, right? He was great in the playoffs, and prior to the playoffs, though, he went into the playoffs in a bit of a hot streak, but it took time to find his footing in Vancouver. And look, to your point, I mean, I think there's nothing to suggest that he wouldn't come back and be better under Adam Foote because he was that guy before. But at the end of the day, I mean, what Elliotte Friedman's tossing out there, it's a pipe dream, right? It's a pipe dream. And it's a lot of money for a guy who hasn't proven to be a top 4 defenseman. I mean, look what we were saying this year, right? Everyone in this market, Carson Soucy, going to be a top 4 defenseman. He's been so good in his minutes, and he has bombed in those minutes this season, right? Some guys cannot handle the elevated role, and Nikita Zadorov did do it for a chunk of time in the playoffs, but can he do it long term? I mean, this dude played 11 NHL seasons. He's in his 12th NHL season now, and he just hasn't been a top 4 guy consistently throughout his career already.
And he's getting
now
paid
again,
like
that
one.
guy's making.
And now he's getting paid like one,
he's
right?
Getting paid like one, exactly.
Yeah,
and kind of just to break it down further, what's going on in Boston? Look, the underlying numbers are fine. When he plays with Charlie McAvoy, that's been like a top pairing for Boston. I mean, they're controlling expected goals, they're controlling scoring chances, they're facing off against pretty good competition. But the dude's, his giveaways are high. He's been a bit of a penalty machine. He leads the league in minor penalties. Obviously, the offense hasn't been there as well either. So look, again, when you're on a losing team, things are hard. I actually don't think Zadorov's been maybe as bad as some Boston fans have suggested. But when your team's losing and you fire your coach, I think that no one's really getting the benefit of the doubt.
Look at this comment, though, from Elston Gunn, right? Trevor Baggs creating the base layer for Zadorov, saying, okay, he hasn't been that bad. Look at his numbers. It's more of a Boston thing, maybe, blah, blah, blah. But it's also this that allows Canucks fans to miss Zadorov a lot. And also just the organization, I think, in general, especially through dark times. Like, they need a guy like Zadorov because, as Elston is saying, Big Z has the intangibles, right? You can't deny that. He instills confidence in his team and the fan base. even though his stats could be pretty awful. And, you look at Rick Tocchet, a couple days ago saying that, he's been soft on the team and whatnot. And prior to him calling himself out, I think there was like this emphasis for him to have the team and the players wake each other up, not have the coach drill into them. And I think he misses a guy like Zadorov that can keep things light. Sometimes you don't need your leaders holding each other accountable. Sometimes you need your leaders to just, again, crack a joke, make it light, remind each other that, it's just a hockey game. Like, we got this. And they don't have that guy right now. And I hate to put Quinn on the spot like this, or even JT for that matter, but I'm not sure if vocally those two are able to be efficient based on, Quinn possibly not even ever doing it, and that's opening his mouth, but just in that way of leading. Whereas Zadorov, I feel as if people would listen to him because it's a mix of let's effing go and here's a joke, or here's a big hit and I'm going to go chirp the other team, just keep things light. And I think that's definitely missing with this team. You can't deny that. And, you talk about this organization listening to Rick Tocchet all the time. Well, they tried to listen to Rick Tocchet when it came to the Zadorov thing. But again, Zadorov wanted that extra year, did his thing. It is what it is. It didn't work out, but we didn't replace him.
Yeah. Well, what are you talking about?
Actually, Sherwood.
They got Vinny D in the door. Oh, wait.
No. You know what? Actually, you know what? Shut me up. Maybe we did replace him with Kiefer Sherwood. He's turning into that guy. He's personal as F, He cares about the Canucks. Again, he refers to the Oilers being his rival, even though he didn't have that relationship with the Predators. Like, he's embedded in the blue and green. Maybe, just maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, Kiefer Sherwood is our Nikita Zadorov replacement when it comes to being physical and also just keeping things light. It's funny, it's funny when you see one of your guys on your team piss off the other team, drill the other team, hurt the other team, and also chirp that guy towards the bench. Like, that gets the ish going,
Yeah, no, I think you make a great point there. And Kiefer Sherwood's been that dude for the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, he's been the second best player on this team. More on that on another episode of Locked On Canucks. But just to finish off that point there about intangibles, I'll end this on a cliffhanger before we get to break and talk a bit more about your Vancouver Canucks on the other side. If the Canucks are looking for a top defenseman target out there who has those intangibles, who is a good locker room guy, who can joke around and motivate the boys, to me, in terms of the top guys out there, that screams Mackenzie Weegar. Who knows if he's going to be the guy for your Vancouver Canucks? He got a bit of term left, but he still plays at a high level, and he definitely brings those intangibles to the locker room. Speaking of intangibles, we heard Thatcher Demko.
That's crazy. That's crazy, man. We'll talk about that more on the other side. I want to get into that Weegar to the Canucks. We'll talk about it in a couple minutes.
All right, sounds good. We'll talk about Weegar. We'll talk about the soul of the Canucks on the other side, including Thatcher Demko, who spoke to the media yesterday. Is this dude coming back soon? He says he's feeling good. Let's get into a bit about Demko, and I want to talk a bit about Brock Boeser on the other side as well. Again, you're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every damn day. We'll be back after we shout out our friends over at FanDuel and Gametime. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on that same page where you place your bets. Go visit FanDuel.com to join today. You can start with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. And make sure you bet on Geno Smith to finish with more fantasy points than Jordan Love, baby, because that's the bet I made, and I'm winning right now. Suck it, Packers fans. Go visit FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL.
One love to FanDuel.
All right. Well, if you want to go check out the Seahawks and Packers in December, man, oh man, I'm going to
that game. Are
you going? You got tickets?
I'm getting hammered. I'm going with 3 friends. Shout out to Aiden, Linda, and Mitch. It's going to be a good time. And I actually daydreamt about this yesterday. I really think I'm going to, there's like a 20% chance that I'm not going to make it on the way back. Like, I'm going to have to Greyhound it back to the border. That's just the truth.
Seahawks, when I might pick you up, and if Green Bay wins, you're hooped. But I hope I know you got those tickets on Gametime, Kyle, okay? Because there's no other place you should be going to get tickets aside from Gametime. And I know you went to the app, and I know you used that Gametime Picks feature to find the best deals, okay? You filtered out the fluff, okay? The Green Bay Packers, they're a fluffy team, but you filtered out that fluff to find the best damn tickets on Gametime, okay? And the reasons to use the Gametime app, okay? They got the Gametime picks. They got the all-in pricing, so there's no surprise fees at checkout. Again, they got the lowest price guarantee. If you want to travel a bit, Canucks fans, Gametime is having an exclusive zone deal for the NHL Winter Classic event at Wrigley Field. Go check out the Gametime app to purchase tickets and get 10% off bleacher seating and 20 to 25% off home plate area seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime picks. Download that Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Gametime, mother.
People. We back doing this, and that's talking about Nikita Zadorov and Mackenzie Weegar and your Vancouver Canucks. Speaking of which, look at this comment from Eleutherius. What are you, a Greek goddess? Eleutherius? Anyways, he's saying, give me a break, okay? He didn't chase the extra year. At his age, the contract he asked for was reasonable, okay? Let him live. Zadorov didn't chase the extra year. Dude, he did. And I don't give a ish if that he's looking out for himself and his family. I'm sorry. I'm a Canucks fan. I'm loyal to the blue and green. I'm loyal to the West Coast, okay? I don't give a ish. He didn't make the right decision. He's being selfish. That's the bottom line because Kyle Ballin said so. I don't give a crap, okay? My family, it's you and you and you and you and you. He had a good time playing in Vancouver. He played his best hockey of his career. He put himself on the map. You know what I'm saying? For all the good reasons. And he thought Boston was a nicer city. Right? He travels to Boston with the Canucks, turns over to Lindholm like, oh, this would be a great place to play in. Oh, really? Really? Have fun in Boston, Nikita Zadorov. Straight up, dude. You had something good here. You can't, the grass ain't green on the other side, brother. Okay? If it's me and you in the alleyway, you best believe. You best believe. That's all I'm going to say. Okay? Anyways, Trevor, Mackenzie Weegar. That's a guy that I would go after. If you're going to, but here's the thing, Trevor, okay? If you're trading for Mackenzie Weegar, and I know you may touch on this in a couple minutes too, that's a Tom Willander thing. And then I'm looking at it and I'm like, dude, are you serious? Did we just give Calgary Hunter Brussels sprouts and Tom Willander and a couple picks? I'm scared of that. No, I don't know, man. You don't want to be doing that to a rival. Straight up. That's too much. Too much. There's got to be someone else. I don't want to be taking that 50-50 chance with a division rival. Just stacking the team up with prospect after prospect after prospect.
Yeah, that is a tough one. I think I'll throw this out there between Lecker-Mackey and Willander. Let's say the Flames wanted a first in Lecker-Mackey, and the Canucks keep Willander. Does that tickle your pickle a bit more, or are still Lecker-Mackey and Willander more or less untouchables for you, especially against trading with the division rival?
You know what? I don't want to say never because I understand that when you're contending, you got to do your thing. So on that note, let's see how the Canucks do with all these injuries. With even if Boeser and Demko come back soon, let's see how they do without JT Miller for a significant amount of time. Let's see if they are those dogs. Let's see if they could replace Nikita Zadorov and some of that swagger. Okay, let's see if they can challenge themselves to overcome these expectations and possibly going through a bad stretch of hockey here. Let's see if this team has that swagger before you make any big moves. So there's somewhat of a blessing in disguise in front of us right now. Six game road trip, right? Again, Demko may come back. He may not come back. Look at the lineup full of AHLers. Can they get the job done? Can the best of the best? Can Hughes and Pettersson will this team? Let's see if all that stuff can happen. And then I'll consider trading Jonathan Lecker-Mackey because right now they literally can't. They literally can until they can prove to the hockey world for years and years and years that they actually are contenders. They can't just go year after year after year trading first round picks. That is, Trevor, if that's the case, if they don't win a cup with this core and they do all this moving because, dude, we're going to die so miserable. You know how you in your deathbed, you're going to regret it. Not because, you know what I'm saying? I wish I chose a different team to cheer for. And straight up, it's risky business. And until they can prove that they got that swagger for sure, I'm not touching another first-round pick or Jonathan Lecker-Mackey.
Well, I think that's the correct answer because it's, again, the Canucks are in a cup window right now. I do think it's a 3-year window, and it doesn't necessarily feel like that based on the start this season. But, again, every team has their flaws. I mean, look at the Edmonton Oilers are the cup favorite coming into this season, and they certainly have their flaws right now. I mean, hell, they're starting Pod Colson who has no goals in 49 games, and Kasperi Kapanen, who was claimed off of waivers, has 7 goals in his last 86 games in the top 6. So even the best teams have their flaws, including the Vancouver Canucks. But Kyle, to your point, I mean, unless you win a Stanley Cup, it's all for nothing, right? I think of the Pittsburgh Penguins traded away a ton of picks, but they won 2 cups. But there's teams out there. I know the Winnipeg Jets did it for a while, trading away picks, and they didn't get much. In the NFL, the LA Rams, I mean, thankfully for their fan base, they won a Super Bowl because they basically cleaned out their draft picks. They said, F them draft picks. So it's a risky strategy. But again, if you truly believe the Canucks have a chance to win the Cup, then I think that's kind of a move you got to make. Possibly trading a first and Lekkermaki if you can get a top pairing defenseman. Now, I do wonder if it's worth trading a package like that if Boeser and Demko aren't coming back and performing at elite levels. Because to me, those guys might be the soul of the Vancouver Canucks. I mean, we talked Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes being the flash, the razzle dazzle, JT Miller being the heart. But I do wonder if Boeser and Demko are the soul of the Canucks. And I think they are, man. Tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah. I don't think you're wrong, man. Our insider Ricky, Uncle Ricky, he's mentioned it many times that he thinks that the Canucks need to sign Brock Boeser to a long-term extension because that guy's the glue of the team. He holds all the personalities together that are different within that room. He's the even keel guy, the guy that everyone wants to be friends with. And he's a really good player, a really good two-way player. I'm convinced that you win hockey games in the playoffs with a guy like Brock Boeser up your lineup. Extremely hard to play against, can score some clutch goals, getting better and better. That's a soul type of player. And then you look at Thatcher Demko and I don't know if you have the quote in front of you, but I guarantee every Canucks fan has already heard the verbatim that was coming out of that guy's mouth yesterday. And you could just see that this guy bleeds blue and green and blue and green and even more blue and green. And that's a beautiful thing. Like it's scary for some people to hear this guy talk about how, and I'm paraphrasing a bit, emphasis on that, because if Thatcher Demko listens to this, because Elliotte Friedman's listening to the show, who else knows, who else is listening to the show, right? Anyways, if Demko's listening to this, he might punch me in the face, but it sounded as if he was saying, like, the guys need me. And that is motivating for me to push myself to get back, like test this thing out and figure things out. And I know he's done the work. He's learned a lot since September, which isn't that long ago, but he really emphasized how, he had a breakthrough in Penticton about how to move around with this knee injury and, still be a good goalie and blah, 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 right? All in all, though, to hear him talk about having this instinctive motivation to put himself on the line again, like he did in the playoffs when he wasn't playing, to get back before the Dallas series potentially is motivating. And I'm not going to sit here and spend a lot of time thinking that he's injury prone or he's made out of glass and all that stuff. Honestly, I'm putting that good love out there that he's going to come back and he's not going to get hurt again. Because if there's anyone in the league that deserves it, it's the longest tenured Canuck on this team, and that's Thatcher Demko and Brock Boeser. But Demko just putting in the work, and I want to see this guy succeed fully for your Vancouver Canucks. The guy deserves it.
Yeah, I mean, look, I have the quote in front of me from yesterday, and this is the quote that stood out to me and showed to my Daily Hive colleague Noah Strang for tweeting out, and he said, quote, "You want to be there for your teammates. I'm not really doing this for me. I think that's what the basis of playing sports is, trying to be there for other people and help your team succeed and do whatever it takes to do that." So, I mean, look, it's crazy how much of a team first guy he is, right? And there is a part of me that thinks that, damn, if you're only doing this for your teammates, you're not doing this for you, how long is it going to last? Because what we've heard about the Popliteus injury is that, this is not something that he's going to really recover from. He's going to have to learn to play from it. And sure, he goes back there on the ice and he's got the adrenaline and he's helping his team out, but the dude's still got a whole career in front of him, right? Can he play through this pain for not potentially months, but years on end? That's kind of the question that comes to my mind, but the guy is obviously a bit of a freak about his body. We've heard that from Rutherford. We've heard that from his own mouth yesterday. Again, I think that if he comes back, he knows he wants to be able to perform at an elite level. So, Kyle, I tend to agree with you. I like having the good juju out in the atmosphere.
Good juju. Yo, West Coast bias, man. F the haters, man. I know we get emotional and we get hurt when he gets injured and we say these things. And we're like, oh, are you serious again and again and again? But I don't know how you don't listen to what he said yesterday and not just feel so much more in love with this team. Like, I think that I don't want to say we take it for granted, but with this team being just good, again, only been good for like 14 months, it's still kind of hard to believe how many of these players love being Vancouver Canucks. It's because that locker room is tight. Even JT Miller, like, whatever he's going through and whatnot, he still played injured, game in and game out for this team this year, let alone in years past when he was ailing with the wrist injury and whatnot. Like, and he played for a bad team. I just love the fact, I get so pumped up knowing that the core of this team, they actually just love being members of this organization, and they've only tasted playoff hockey once here. It's fascinating. It really is. So again, listen to that Demko spiel and fall in love with this team even more. I know they're going through a lot of things right now, the 6-game road trip coming up, but I have faith, man. I have faith that they're going to show us a lot here.
Well, I think this season has, two very general conclusions. It's either going to be a season where we go, typical Canucks luck, Demko wasn't healthy, Miller was gone, blah, 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 fell short of expectations, or it might be the craziest Canucks season ever where Demko comes back as an elite, JT Miller misses a chunk of time, comes back, starts doing his thing, and the Canucks, let's say it, they go on to win the Stanley Cup, baby. Keep it moving, Kyle. Let's go. We'll be back on the other side. A couple more news and notes to get to. A couple of your comments to get to. Again, you're listening to Locked On Canucks, your Canucks every day. We'll be back after we shouted our friends over at PrizePicks. All right, baby. If you're playing daily fantasy sports, you got to go check out PrizePicks. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, PrizePicks has done it. They've made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. And guess what? On PrizePicks, you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks, okay? Do you think Nikita Zadorov will get traded to the Canucks? Okay, I don't think that's on the board, but coming up against Ottawa, could Kevin Lankinen get the win? Could Dakota Joshua get his first goal of the season? Could Elias Pettersson keep his point streak up? And could Connor Garland have that new dad energy and get a couple of bingos, okay? Again, just make 4 correct picks and you can win up to 100 times your cash, man. Unbelievable stuff. You can also sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play your first $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. So download that PrizePick app today. Use code LOCKEDONNHL and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's time to run your game.
Run it. Just run it. Let's see you can run it. Run. People, we back. One love to PrizePicks for doing its thing, right? Giving us that support, allowing fantasy to be a little bit of fun. Again, use the link in the bio, use Locked On NHL, and download PrizePicks. Trevor Beggs, Kyle Bowen, giving you the show, Locked On Canucks. And I'm looking at some of the comments. I know you want to talk about some of the young guns and all this stuff, but look at this comment from Jacob Cozy, man. This guy found me on TikTok, real one. Big fan of the show, but Can you walk this guy off the bridge? Okay, he's saying it's pretty embarrassing right now looking at the standings. It sucks. And I'm like, dude, this team hasn't had Demko all year. Pettersson just started playing like 7 games ago. Boeser's been hurt for 6 games. There's been inconsistencies for sure. I think there's been reasons to be really concerned as well. That's the truth. But all in all, it's not that bad. It's not that bad.
Look, the Canucks are... The Canucks are 3 points out of first in the division with a game in hand on the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, no team is running away with it right now. Look, the Edmonton Oilers are 1 point ahead of Vancouver in the standings with 2 games in hand. Currently, Vancouver's in the second wildcard spot, Edmonton in the first wildcard spot. But it's early days, right? Colorado is out of the playoff picture right now. And again, Calgary's in the playoff picture. I mean, it's a weird time of year. I think the only teams that are really convincing so far to me are really the ones in the Central, like the Jets, the Wild, the Stars have all looked really damn good. But it's early days for the Vancouver Canucks. It's again, we said it before on the show. Every day is no. November last year was a win-loss month. They're going to have to go on a streak at some point. But considering everything that's gone on with PD struggles, with Miller's leave of absence, Boeser's injury, missing Demko, all the new guys they added to this team, there's been a lot going on with the Vancouver Canucks right now. And the fact that they, picked up points early on in the season, I think they've done okay overall.
I think like the fact that they picked up points is like a sign from the hockey gods that like, you know what? Like at the end of the day, you guys will be fine. You guys will be playing meaningful games in April and May. I see it that way, man. I think it's pretty divine if you ask me. I think, I don't know if we were necessarily getting ahead of ourselves a couple weeks ago when our record was what it was. And Lankinen was doing its thing and blah, blah, blah. But again, I think we're just being ultimately really grateful for the points coming our way, because there's a lot of moments where we didn't really deserve those points, but they still happen. And again, Demko is coming back. It's a huge loss. Thatcher's coming back. Miller, who's been dealing with a lot of injuries, now he's dealing with personal reasons. Like, I hope when he comes back in due time, whenever he does, like, he's back to feeling himself. And you look at the process and like what has been happening that is good in the moment. And I have no problem with saying this. Maybe Trevor, you want to punch me in the face for saying this, but I think we're right where we're supposed to be, considering that through all these games, Pettersson is warming up. Like, he's warming up. He's coming back. We're not picking up a lot of team points while he's been on fire. He can't do it himself, but I'm pretty content with where we are in the standings and with us possibly getting a lot better, considering that finally, after almost a year, Elias Pettersson is good again.
Yeah, no, it's I'm not going to punch you in the face on that one, buddy. I'll save that for when we're having a couple of brewskis next time we catch a game together. Get angry about something else. But again, early days for the Vancouver Canucks. There's a lot of good teams who are not off to great starts or below average starts, I guess I should say. So no, I'm not panicking or freaking out or shaking fingers about the
Dude, the team that beat us in the team that beat us in the second round of the playoffs, they had double the worst start that we had. Like, real talk, Edmonton. It's all good at Appleboro, man. Take it one game at a time and just support the troops. Do your thing. And all in all, it's not. You know what, Trevor? I'm gonna take some of this back. I'm not gonna poo-poo on too many of the fans for being overly concerned, because, and this is another reason why we can't be trading a lot of young guns. It's like, dude, we play every game with Susie and Myers as a parent, and if that's not case in point, why you can't touch trading the DPD or Willander, I don't know what is. Like, you got to be patient here, man. Might not be the year if those guys are going to have to play prominent minutes the whole way through. I'm sorry to scare you, but like, dude.
I thought we were going to make it through the episode without mentioning Susie and Nice. Now I want to punch you in the face, man.
Okay,
Unbelievable.
Okay.
I'm switching guns here quickly. Talk about the young guns. Let's go to the first real news and notes. Jonathan Lekermack, sent to the AHL. Not a huge surprise. Max Sasson recalled to the Canucks. Like, Max Sasson fits more what the Canucks want to see in their bottom six, right? Of course, Lekermack has more juice, more a way higher ceiling, obviously. But Rick Talka said it when he was asked about Lekermack prior to the demotion. And he said that the guy's basically, he's out there being a shooter and he's looking for the opportunity to shoot, and he's not as involved in the offense. And I think he said that's the next step for his game, is to get more involved offensively.
I think he's a little scared. When I see him play. He doesn't want to get engaged physically. Like, it's a different game. It's a different beast. He's pretty small. Like, it's just complete. It's a pace quicker than the AHL. Obviously, a couple paces quicker and bigger than it is in the SHL. And like, saying he's scared might be like a mean thing to say, but I just see it like his inability to want to, put any strength along the boards with the puck, or just give a decent amount of effort again along the boards to just retrieve the puck, get the puck back up the boards. It just seems as if right now he's too perimeter, and that's not the way it gets done in the NHL, for real.
Yeah. And Lekermack will be back at some point, but let him go build that confidence in the AHL and learn some lessons as well. For Max Sasson, as Vancouver's My Life is saying, Sasson is Spanish for a seasoning or spices, and I think he can bring some spice to the bottom six. I mean, look at where Lekermack was in one of the Canucks' last games, playing with Danton Heinen and Teddy Blueger. I mean, that is just if that's not a square peg in a round hole, I don't know what is. But Max Sasson can fit that vibe and that mold a bit more. Like, he's got 9 points in 16 games this season. He's not going to be some big offensive contributor, but the dude plays his ass off. He skates hard. And he's responsible defensively. I really like what I've seen from Max Sasson at the AHL level. I do think he's kind of obviously a career tweener, but again, curious to see the guy get his opportunity, as we always are in these moments.
Opportunities matter, dude. Trevor and I, 31 and a half years old, we're still waiting for our opportunity, and we're going to be sharp and ready for when it comes. And if we want to talk about opportunities mattering, look at one of our favorite players right now. Kiefer Sherwood, career AHLer up until last year. You know what I'm saying? And Sasson's looked good in preseason games. He plays with a little bit of bite. He plays a little quick. He's not afraid to go along the boards. He's a bit more of a grinder, right? And I think there could be something there for the time being. And speaking of the time being, I don't know if there's any update on Brock Boeser, but like, is he coming on the road trip or anything? Because with the Lekermack news, or is he going to be also out for 6 games? We got to keep tabs with that.
Yeah, we'll update you later on in Locked On Canucks because I don't know that right now. The last bit of news and notes I did have to touch on was just projections for World Junior rosters. So I was digging into that a bit today, and it looks like 2 Canucks are likely to be at the World Juniors. I think the obvious one is Tom Willander. Will return to Sweden at the World Juniors. The other one looks like Sawyer Minio, Canucks 3rd round pick from 2022. Maybe 2023. It looks like he's going to be on Team Canada as well. Again, wasn't superb in the year the Canucks drafted him, but he's really taken off in a bigger role with the Seattle Thunderbirds. So shout out to Sawyer Minio as well. That's the best time of the year, man. World Junior time, baby.
What? No way,
Let's
dude.
go.
No, okay, Christmas is not. I don't know. I'm not a big World Juniors guy anymore. Anyway, Jason's saying that Boeser is going to join the Canucks on the road trip. I just saw a quote from Rick Tocchet saying the same thing. If he's not going to play on the road trip, he's assuming that Boeser's only day-to-day, or whatever that means, because the road trip's a couple weeks. But all in all, he's coming back, and I hope that the Canucks won this road trip. It would be ironic if they could get on, if they can go 4-2 on this road trip. It's going to be hard. Like, that seems like mission impossible. But have some faith, okay? Patterson and Hughes are playing at the top of their game. That means something. That's not a little. Like, a lot of teams can't combat that. Real talk. They can't. They can't. Those 2 are that damn good. And look at this from Callum. We're going to end it on this note, okay? Hit the like button for this. Looking at things positively. Did I say that right? I think so. The Canucks are pre-disastered, okay? Best to get the worst out of the way at the front end of our historic Stanley Cup winning season, okay? Think about how the Canucks did last year, right? Everything was going so well. Then right when the playoffs hit, Demko gets hurt 59 minutes into his playoff career. Boeser gets hurt right before Game 7. Like, Callum is onto something. So one love to Callum for spreading that joy. Hit the links in the bio. Hit the like button. Begsy, sign us out.
All right. Shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners, the first-time listeners, the new subscribers, and those of you who join us on the live show on YouTube, wherever you're listening, whenever you're listening. We appreciate the hell out of you for tuning in to Locked On Canucks. We'll be back tomorrow. Lots of things on the mind. Trade targets on the defense. Who is the Canucks' second best player? And preview the road trip ahead, which begins with my second favorite team, the Ottawa Senators. But until we're back, we got to get out of here. I'm Trevor Beggs. That guy's Cal Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.